Hey guys, this is going to be my John Green. I'm going to get better lighting. This is going to be my John Green video. It's going to be pretty long, so watch the whole thing. I think I'll start off just telling you what it was like. Basically, like, we get to the auditorium, we find our seats after our waiting in a long line, and the show starts. Hank starts off like doing this little puppet thing with this sock puppet routine, which was really funny. And the sock puppet introduced John, and he came on stage, and he read a piece of The Fault in Our Stars, and it was fantastic. And then at some points, Hank would come out and sing songs, and then they did like various Q&A sessions. They did like 2 of those, so that was like 20 minutes of Q&A. One thing that I don't think I recorded was Hank singing I'm gonna be 500 miles by the Proclaimers. There was a Doctor Who video with that song, and it was very popular. So I hope that Kayla and Rachel, you guys saw that, and Allegra. And it's like David Tennant marching, and it's like I would walk 500 miles. I'm not super familiar with that, but I've definitely seen the video and that on Tumblr, so that's why I recognized it. And what was really cool about that is that John sang the part of the song that's like the woo-hoo-hoo part, not the lyrics, but he sang part of a song, which is cool. At one point, John said that the Yeti would come out, and then it was Hank in drag, and I have a video of that. John did the happy dance at one point, which was great. And then eventually, they said thank you, and then they ended it, and then they came down for book signing. Okay, and I was in the 3rd book signing group out of like 20, so I got a really good spot in the line. This is what I can't even talk about without, I'm not crying. This was an intense experience. So basically, I get in line, and then they come, and the auditorium was loud, so I couldn't like call anyone and like try to get them to talk to John. Like Rachel had that idea, which was a great idea, but it wouldn't have worked because the auditorium was so loud. But okay, so I'm in line, and they ask me like, what my name is, so that he can sign it. And I decided that I'd want Paper Towns and Fault in Our Stars signed, and then also I got this really awesome program signed by Hank, and it looks really cool. Like, they have like little like Nerdfighter lexicon, like different phrases. They had a signing guidelines, bio of the it's reversed, the screen. Bio of the brothers. It was so cool. Such a cool program. So I'll show that to you guys if I see you in person, for sure. Duh. So I'm like, okay, I want Hank to sign this, and I want John to sign these two books. Eventually, I get to the table where John and Hank Green are sitting, and I have one decent photo of them. Everything else is just video, honestly, and it's just like their backs. So I'll show that here. I set my books down on the table, and the handlers open the book to the right page and give them to John Green. At which point, John Green looks up at me and he says, "Hi Garrett, how are you?" Holy crap, guys. I didn't know what to do. I was beside myself. And so I said hi back, and then there was this moment where I paused because I was so blown away by what had just happened. And then eventually I realized, okay, I need to ask him how he is back. And so I was like, "How are you, John?" And he said, "Good, good. Thank you so much for coming out to the show tonight." And I was like, "Of course, it was incredible. I really loved the show." But I was so starstruck in this moment. And he signs my book, which I will show you. to Garrett, DFTBA, John Green. And then I'll show you paper towns as well. To Garrett, John Green. The Garrett got a little sloppy on paper towns, but the other Garrett's good. And so I was just like, thank you so much, guys. And then at this point, Hank is like, can I sign something? He said that to me, guys. And I was like, yes, Hank, I really want you to sign this. Like, I was serious. Like, I thought about this. And I shove it in his face. And he signs it, and it looks really cool because he used a really great marker. And it was incredible. And I remember at some point I used the word genuinely when I was talking to them. I think I said, I want you to sign this genuinely to Hank. Which is true, I did. But it was kind of, I don't know. It was also funny that I said, of course, to John. And so, yeah, and then they thanked me again for coming out, and I was like, thank you so much, guys. You guys are amazing. It was an awesome show. And I walked away. It was a really cool experience, and you know, honestly, it was really 20 seconds from when I set the books down on the table to when I was walking away with them. It was you know, blink it and you miss it. But I barely had time to even say anything, let alone something like, you know, a cool fact like, oh, I love you, you know, like, but beyond like, I love you guys. So I did not. But okay, one thing that struck me was like how friendly John was in his tone. Like he was incredibly friendly. Like just when he said my name, I don't know, that's. But I mean, like no, like he such genuinely nice guys, and I know that like that's how they come across in their videos. And I mean that's one of the reasons why we love them so much. But like they're like that in real life, so. So that's pretty much what I got to say. Also, John was an incredible public speaker, and so was Hank, but John always is like, I have social anxiety, and that's true. I mean, I'm taking his word for it, but he really was like really good about speaking about everything. So, all right, so enjoy the clips that I have recorded to share with you guys. And I will see you guys next week. Love you guys. Hey everybody, me and Claire, I don't know if I'm getting him, are heading to the John Green book signing, which starts in like 45 minutes. It should be an incredible experience, so I'll record a lot of that to share with you guys. We took the light rail here, which was a lot of fun, and so enjoy the clips we shall present you with. Alright, see you guys later.
Balls and sneakers. I used to play basketball, he explained. You must have been pretty good. I wasn't bad, but all the shoes and balls are cancer perks. He walked toward the TV where a huge pile of DVDs and video games were arranged into a vague pyramid. I was like the prototypical white Hoosier kid, he said. I was all about resurrecting the lost art of the mid-range jumper. But then one day I was shooting free throws, just like standing at the foul line at the North Central gym, shooting from a rack of balls, and all at once, I couldn't figure out why I was methodically tossing a spherical object through a toroidal object. It seemed like the stupidest thing I could possibly be doing. I started thinking about little kids putting cylindrical pegs through circular holes and how they do it over and over again for months when they figure it out, and how basketball was basically just a slightly more aerobic version of that same exercise. Anyway, for the longest time, I just kept sinking free throws. I hit like 80 in a row, but as I kept going, I felt more and more like a 2-year-old. And then for some reason I started to think about hurdlers. Are you okay? I'd taken a seat on the corner of his unmade bed. I wasn't trying to be suggestive or anything. I just got kind of tired when I had to stand a lot. I'd stood in the living room, and then there had been the stairs, and then more standing, which was quite a lot of standing for me, and I didn't want to faint or anything. I was a bit of a Victorian lady, fainting-wise. I'm fine, I said, just listening. Hurdlers? Yeah, hurdlers. I don't know why. I started thinking about them running their hurdle races and jumping over these totally arbitrary objects that had been set in their path. And I wondered if hurdlers ever thought, you know, this would go a lot faster if we just got rid of the hurdles. This was before your diagnosis, I asked? Right, well there was that too. He smiled with half his mouth. The day of the existentially fraught free throws was coincidentally also my last day of dual-leggedness. I had a weekend between when they scheduled the amputation and when it happened. My own little glimpse of what Isaac is going through. I nodded. I liked Augustus Waters. I really, really liked him. I liked the way his story ended with someone else. I liked his voice. I liked that he took existentially fraught free throws. I liked that he was a tenured professor in the Department of Slightly Crooked Smiles. And I liked that he had 2 names. I've always liked people with 2 names, because you get to make up your mind what you call them. Gus or Augustus. Me, I was always just Hazel. Univalent Hazel. So what's your story? He asked, sitting down next to me at a safe distance. I already told you my story and why I chose to write this story, but I want to begin with sort of a broad observation, which is that you choose what you think about. That's true even if you're very young. If you're over the age of about 4, you choose what to think about. Right now, you are choosing what to think about. And every second of your life, you make a choice about how you are going to take the miracle of your consciousness, this astonishing fact that you are able to observe the universe, and where you are going to direct your consciousness. That is your choice. Now, sometimes that choice is circumscribed. When you're very sick, it can be difficult to think about anything other than, for instance, your headache. When you've just gotten dumped, it can be difficult to think about anything other than the person who just dumped you. But the truth is that you choose what to think about. So every second that you spend thinking about the relative health of the romantic relationships of Justin Timberlake is a second that you spent in the literal sense, spent thinking about Justin Timberlake and the relative health of his romantic relationships. And every second that you spend thinking about astrophysics or nerd fighting or books or whatever it is that you spend your time thinking about is time that you are spending. And when I say spending literally, I mean that because it will be used up, your time. We will spend through all of it. Maybe it will take us 100 years, maybe it will take us 30 years, maybe it will take us 5 years, but you will spend the moments that you have to think about stuff, thinking about stuff. And so it falls upon us to try to choose wisely, because we are going to spend our lives. We don't have some sort of infinite supply of life on this planet. Like, our supply of consciousness is not infinite. So we have to orient our lives to try to live well, to try to live what is often called a good, full life. Like, my grandfather just died at the age of 92, and when I was at his funeral over and over again, people said to me, your grandfather lived a good, long, full life, which is true, he did. But what constitutes a good, full life is really the question at the center of The Fault in Our Stars. Because it's easy to say of someone who lives to be 92 years old, they lived a good, full life. Like, my grandfather did a lot of fascinating things. He lived the American dream in many ways. He lived a good, full life. When someone dies at 16 or 18 or 25, it's a lot harder to look back on that person's life and say that it was a good, full life. And that's really the question that I started out when I started out this book. What constitutes a heroic life, a well-lived life, if you don't get to live to be 92? If you don't have access to 92 years for whatever reason? About 12 years ago, I worked as a student chaplain at a children's hospital for about 5 months. And during that time, I met a lot of sick and dying kids. I met a lot of their families. And I spent a lot of time with young people who were at the end of their lives, even though they were very young. And
yeah, actually, now that you mention it, I'm just gonna do it. I don't know what's going on. I blame Alex Day. This is his guitar strap. At VidCon, I said, Alex, I need a guitar strap. I'll give it right back. So, my brother John just read to you from the perspective of a 16-year-old girl. And I'm glad that you can just hear through that, you know? That wasn't weird. So now I'm going to sing to you from the perspective of a 16-year-old girl. Even though Hazel would never write poetry like this, I'm going to put this song into her mouth. It's called Video Game Books. There's something very wrong with my guitar. G strings flat, who is that man? Can you come to me?
I'm not very good at tuning guitars.
In the meantime, I don't want to be too loud because he's doing this by ear. I mean, I know how, just not very well. I can't do it very fast. Yeah.
Pretend I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what happened.
Please?
Just have my finger on the knob.
This conversation's going dirty real fast.
Getting close. Okay. I don't know what happened. I think not only was it flat, it was like literally the wrong note. Oh yeah. So thank you. This song is called Video Game Books. We all can dream of blazing glories, but all I dream of now is you and your blue eyes. It's strange to think how we can feel we don't live our own lives. I wasn't sure about my own, but now I'm feeling fine. Your video game books, they might get me funny looks, but Staff Sergeant Max Mayhem gets me high. And I'm starting to see not just what you want from me, but what you want to get from what you've got. Now what do you think you're gonna be? You think you'll leave some kind of lasting mark? Well, with infinite tomorrows, and no, this isn't fair. No one gets remembered, but right now I just don't care. Your video game books, they might get me funny looks, but Staff Sergeant Max Mayhem gets me high. And I'm starting to see not just what you want from me, but what you want to get from what you got. There's not a line of amputee heroes in history. I wish our lives were so much simpler, and I hope you get to have your moment in the fight, but no one ever gets to be quite who they want to be. Well, you want it to matter, boy, well, you matter to me. Your video game books, they might get me funny looks, but Staff Sergeant Max Mayhem gets me hot. And I'm starting to see not just what you want from me, but what you want to get from what you've got. There's not a line of amputee heroes in history, but I've got one sitting right in front of me. Your heart's been aching, but you're too shy to say it. Inside we both know what's been going on. We know the game and we're gonna play it. And if you ask me how I'm feeling, don't tell me you're too blind to see. I'm never gonna give you up, I'm never gonna let you down. I'm never gonna run around and hurt you. I'm gonna make you cry, I'm never gonna say goodbye. I'm never gonna tell a lie. You deserve you.
That's called getting Hank rolled. If you don't know what it means, I cannot possibly explain it to you, so I will not try to, but it's an internet joke. I I'm now going to, this is a shocking device. I'm not excited about it. It's not a joke, it really shocks you, it really hurts, I promise. Charlie invented it. If I go over my time, I get shocked, so I'm going to try not to go over my time. I want to answer some questions about The Fault in Our Stars from people probably in the first 6 rows. Sorry, people in the back, but I literally cannot see you.
It's okay.
I'm sure that your questions are good.
Said let there be.
Thank you, guy in the back. I actually didn't want to look at them, but thank you. So I will answer some of your questions, and but I have a couple of requests. First, that you not ask me questions that are like massive spoilers, which should be kind of obvious, but it isn't. Because a couple nights ago, a very nice young woman who just, in a moment of not thinking straight, said, "In Looking for Alaska, biggest spoiler ever, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, yeah, but like, it's an actual fact that 99.96% of Americans have not read that book. So don't ruin it for them. So please keep your questions, to the beginning of the book or vague. And I will answer any questions that you may have. The hand shall rise as one. Yes?
You mentioned that you were able to write this book because you became a parent.
Yeah.
Can you explain why? Or...
Sure. So the question is that I talked in a video about how I couldn't have written this book until I became a parent. I think that's true. So one of the things that you don't realize when you're not... Are there any parents here, by the way? See, the difference between parents and their children is that parents raise their hands. Whereas the rest of you just scream at me. I love you, parents. Like me. So one thing about, first off, how cool is it that your kids go crazy about songs about forks? But so one of the things about becoming a parent is that you realize pretty quickly that the nature of your relationship with your kid is absolute and unconditional in ways that not even you really fully understood. And in order to write this book, I had to understand that in any parent and child relationship, that relationship exists as long as either person is... Hank, I hope you're okay. Just so you know, we can hear it when you do that. That relationship exists as long as either person is around. So, my grandfather is dead, but he is still my mother's father. And that fact that that relationship is not contingent upon both people being here was really, really important to me understanding how I could write this story and be very hopeful about it. Yes, with the bangs.
So specific.
Do I watch America's Next Top Model? No. And that's a good opportunity, actually, to say something important, which is that I talked earlier about how Esther was an important inspiration for this story, but it's really important to note that Esther and Hazel are very, very different people in every possible important way, including that Esther would be duly horrified if people thought that she watched America's Next Top Model. So I watched enough of it to get a sense of, these shows are very rigidly formatted. So I got the gist. Yes.
You mentioned that you wanted initially to write a book more selfishly.
Yeah.
And then you got to the point where you were writing for someone else. Could you describe the process of getting from point A to point B?
How would I go from the process of writing for me to writing for other people? I wish I could describe that process better than I probably am going to describe it. The truth is that that's the case for me in every story that I write. One of the pleasures of writing is that there's all this stuff inside of me that I want to get out, but it's really hard to share it in a way that you will not find boring. You may have noticed this when your friends have a story to tell you about some boy who dumped them or whatever. It's a super boring story, and it's really, really long, and it's detailed, and they keep remembering details midway through the story, and they're like, oh, and plus he was and you're just thinking, this is
incredibly boring, and you're making it more boring by remembering like new, also unimportant details. Initially, all of my writing is like that. And then I just hack away at it, basically. I mean, I delete almost 90% of my first drafts, usually. And certainly with The Fault in Our Stars, I mean, I wrote so many drafts, I don't even know. I wrote 1 million words to write this book. So, yeah, so that's the process, is hacking away at it to make it not about me as much as possible. I want to call on someone in the back with the blonde hair.
Ooh, yes.
Yes, you.
Okay.
Really, either of you. I have no preference.
So,
Actually, the more quiet one. Sorry. But see, sometimes it works out, and that's how life is. The world is not a wish granting factory. I'll call on both of you. You first.
okay, you know your characters best. Sort your characters into Hogwarts houses.
Sort my characters.
Please!
Extremely disappointing. Which is no. But I'll happily tell you why I won't sort my characters into Hogwarts houses, which is that it's books belong to their readers and not to their authors, and it's incorrect when you say that I know my characters best. You know them literally exactly as well as I do, because you have access to the exact same text that I have access to, and I have no knowledge of the novel outside of the text. Not to sound like Peter Van Houten, but that's the truth.
Oh my gosh.
The person sitting next to her.
Yes, okay. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, was your book anything like it? The first draft, was the very first draft anything like it is now?
Was the very first draft anything like it is now? Well, I mean, there were some similarities, but very, very few. I mean, I think a few paragraphs from that draft, I mean, literally a few paragraphs survived. I use the word literally a lot, but I always use it correctly. Yeah, perhaps like 300 or 400 words survived. The things that were similar, if there was a support group from the beginning, it met at the Literal Heart of Jesus church from the beginning. The church that I went to when I was a chaplain every Sunday and Wednesday was shaped like a cross, and there was a support group meeting in the place where the boards would have met, in the place. There's a word for that, but it's been a while.
Intersection.
Whatever. Yeah, that one. Yeah. So that's where that's about all that survived. Yes. Yes. Does the hectic glow really exist? No. So